Welcome back to the fourth video of the Unreal Engine procedural sound design and ambience skill development series. Now, in this video here, in regards to my progress from the last video, unfortunately, I've decided to make the decision of basically giving no jumping sounds. I know that's an integral part of the character's movement itself because that's a key action of jumping over different objects within the level, but unfortunately, due to time as well as trying to figure out the system itself on where that could possibly be located in the content browser down here, or even just in searching up the different systems in regards to here. Where are we? Audio assets. Yeah, so all the different ones here in regards to the jumping, could not find it in any of these, even in the character system here. So unfortunately, I would have to abandon that goal, but instead of doing that, I've managed to finish most of the sound cues and have snagged a couple of problems in regards to the waterfall. It is a bit of an issue, which I'll bring up in a moment. But in regards to implemented feedback from my session with my peers, as well as James, my lecturer, essentially the biggest things that I was told is to finally mix this and also fix the water sample for the lake here. Because the previous water samples, as seen in videos 1 and 2, the water was a bit fast and felt like it was coming in like a beach. So I changed that to a more calming sound that I found off SoundSnap, as we can see over here. So if I play it real quick. It's a lot calmer compared to the other one. But going forward, pretty much that is the feedback that I was mainly given. Mostly everything else was fine, besides mixing it, which I plan to do and show you in the next video, which will then finally lead to the final product being the full gameplay of the level itself. Now, in regards to the final product, and I've stated in the previous videos that there is an underground bit to this level. If I go over here, there is so much magic stuff in here and water that I've worked on. It is not a joke, it's ridiculous, but still we push forward. But unfortunately, due to area loops and everything feeling concise, for example, with the waterfall area loop, if I go back to here, so this one here has been a very difficult one to try and blend into the world itself, both underground. So on top, it sounds fine, but unfortunately due to the attenuation sphere coming all the way down into the cave here, as well as you can see by the lines going through the entrance here, and then down into the cave here, you can hear massive amounts of the waterfall cutting through the rocks, which is not realistic, because obviously no one would hear a waterfall while they're underground unless it was coming through like a slight windy tunnel, being the cave here. So I'll just give you a quick demonstration of what the waterfall sounds like. Also, in regards to everything else, the one-shots, I managed to do most of the animals, for example the crickets here. I've also done some of the bees. And then back in the village, we have the pigs and the chickens, which we'll go to in a minute after showing you this. So on the surface it sounds fine, but when we go underground it sounds completely different. If I play the level again and then press, okay, I'm pretty sure it's here we go. So just by pressing F, I can go into the normal created mode. So you can hear the waterfall and coming into the cave itself. It's like, yeah, sure, it cuts off and all that.
Getting rather worried that I'll never find my way out of here. Can you help me?
But it usually cuts in around here.
Can you help me find my way out?
Yeah, there you go. You can hear it just above,
I seem to be lost down here.
which is not that realistic, in my opinion. And so, unfortunately, I've had to make the decision to cut the, bottom of the level out of the gameplay. I feel like in terms of not only the sound itself, but also gameplay wise, I can't figure out how to open the cave. And I've tried deleting the entry door, but it basically will like end the entire and break the level. So out of safety for the level itself not breaking for this project, and also sound wise in terms of complicating the very bottom of the cave, I'm going to leave it for now. But moving along, we'll go towards the village now. Now, the village is a lot more populated this time. For example, I've replaced some of the animal sounds, and I've also done some blacksmith sounds. That play at random. And then I thought a good idea, because this is a fantasy level.
That book of spells. Where's my magic wand? Where did I put that book of spells?
I added a wizard into that hut over there. And then going towards the pigs. These are pre-recorded sounds given to me by a good lecturer of mine in a different unit. But they play at random as well. And then finally the chickens. Those are pre-recorded slash sourced. It was kind of a mix between those two being layered, not for this project but for the previous Unity level. Finally, the bird cues have been done, and you can hear them all throughout the level. The most prominent spot is this one. So those are recording of some plover birds as well as some pigeons. And finally, also some kookaburras and lorikeets. Now, another thing that I figured out while doing this level is that you can spawn stuff in on this little mechanism here. Now, what do I mean by that? Just by pressing E here, I can spawn a barrel as one of the mechanics. Now, going into this, it has some rolling and collision sounds, which I've managed to do in the spare time between the videos. And also I can spawn a pumpkin as well that has a splat sound. So you can go crazy a little bit with these. So you must be thinking, oh, why didn't this break? Well, there's a specific spot here that shows you the animation between the pumpkin breaking. Meanwhile, the barrels are completely fine. So far that's been my progress, but I'll quickly show you the collision sounds. So if we go down to here, go down to props. So we go to fruit drop. This is the pumpkin, which is filled with a whole bunch of different source sounds in regards to fruits. That's when the animation starts. And then if we go to the barrel for the collision, so for example, barrel impact, there's different varying intensities here. So soft, medium, hard. Unfortunately, depending on which of the samples that I had for the timber one, I had a long sound library of them. Pretty much that was based on just listening to them, because the labeling was a little bit different compared to the intensity, so I just based it off by ear. And then if we go back to the collisions and go to impacts, these are all the other collision impacts in regards to the timber, but most of them have been replaced by my samples. These are the stocked ones. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of them because that will break the game as well. I've tried getting rid of them like a couple of times, but it just popped up in an error message saying this will basically corrupt the entire project if I do that. So again, out of security for the entire level, I'm just going to keep it as is. And then finally, this is the barrel roll that I've used. And then here's the other one. So those two are varying as well. In terms of other progress as well, I'd say that's pretty much that. For the other stuff, like for example, a couple of disclaimers in this as well. There are little mythical creatures like these, for example. Apparently this is a forest fairy, and so there is already intended dialogue for this character as well as another one if you follow down the path here of this one. And there's a whole bunch of different dialogue, even with the one down in the cave there. So I'm just going to keep them into the level because, again, I do not have the time to record the same type of dialogue. Plus, in preference with my lecturer, Pat Carroll, who runs the CIM301 skill development unit, he mainly wants me to focus on implementation into this level itself, which I totally agree with as the project's main priority. So I will come up with any other problems. I will tackle any other problems in regards to possibly coming up with a solution to the jumping sound. If not, and nothing is explained in the next video, just assume that pretty much that hasn't been done. As for other inquiries that I need to do to complete this by the next video, I just need to do a couple little touch-ups in regards to the sounds over here, as well as the forest over there for like some of the mythical creatures. I do have some recordings, for example, like otters that sound a little bit like cutesy and a little bit like little tiny forest creatures as well. Plus, I thought it would be a really cool idea to add some like little stick breaks, as well as some bush rustling to make it seem like you're being watched. And based on other feedback that I've gotten so far in terms of the nature sounds, it sounds very consistent. So next video, I'll show you the full mix thing and explain my process in regards to what I've finished up with in the audio cues. Rightio, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.